going on, people? This is another episode of the MMA Complex. My name is Josh.
And I'm James.
And it's October 10th, 2017. Almost Halloween time.
Yeah.
So, how you
Love
doing, man?
it. Good, man. I love Halloween, but it's been pretty hot lately. I think we had a pretty big fire, right?
I think it's still going on. Yeah, there's a couple of fires all up and down the state.
I was in Santa Rosa not too long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think yesterday when I came up from work, it looked like hell. Like in the sky, it was kind of crazy. But,
yeah. Yeah, there's a big fire. The biggest one I think is up near San Francisco, from what I hear.
Yeah, the Santa Rosa one, right?
Yeah, I think that's the one, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where that's at, but yeah, that one's a huge fire. There's fires all up and down the state. So
yeah, I was there. I was in Santa Rosa with my girlfriend. Her family lives up there, and it's not much to see. It's about I'd say 25 minutes or 30 from San Francisco.
Is that the wine country? Is that like the wine area?
If it is, I don't.
I'm getting confused.
I think the nicest part that I've seen, we went to a lake up in the mountains, but it was hell. It was so hot up there, but there's nothing out there. But I don't know how anybody can live out there. There's nothing there, and it's weird because it's like a community where people make everyone in that community had built their own house. It's part of the requirements. If you want to live, you have to build your own house.
Did you see a lot of houses?
Yeah, but everyone has to build. It's kind of crazy, but it's there's nothing out there. So it's a 20-minute drive from San Francisco. That's the only cool thing about it. But other than that, something to it. But yeah, it's been really hot. And some great fights over the weekend. But I guess before
some good fights.
Yeah, before we go into that, I showed you the Shane McMahon stunt that he did over the weekend. What'd you think, man?
I liked it, man. It was it's like the Mick Foley, or no, who was it, Mick Foley? When he got thrown off the cage? Yeah. And then Shane's done that before, right? Has he jumped off the cage like that before?
Yeah, I think at WrestleMania he did the same thing with The Undertaker, but it wasn't as bad. I think this one was
worse.
His body bounced a little before it broke.
Because it didn't break like right away. It kind of just it was a little
And it seems high, like when you see him on the cage,
but it's not already. That bad, though, huh?
But I'm sure, like how things always look high or not bad, but when you're there, it looks crazy. Can you imagine him being up, like how it looks being up that high, and then seeing a sea of people surrounding you, and like everyone is expected for him to do that stunt because he always does stupid things like that.
Yeah, he does.
So.
I mean, I think when he was going up there, I think people
knew. Yeah, well, before that, I was telling you, like they're both Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. They're wrestling on top of the cage. Shane McMahon actually got power bombed on top of the cage, and I thought for sure that cage was going to fall through. I was in panic mode, man, but it didn't. Kevin Owens kind of teased the cannonball from the top of the cage, but he didn't do it. Then Shane did it. It was it's crazy to see his age, and him still doing it, and they reference a lot of UFC in this past.
Like what though?
Shinsuke Nakamura saying that he has an intense background in mixed martial arts, saying that if he wasn't wrestling, he'd be in the UFC, and then he, calling the moves right. I think Shinsuke did a triangle choke, and they called it.
Yeah,
triangle to an armbar. They called it pretty good.
Yeah,
instead of calling it a sleeper, they called it a rear naked choke.
A rear naked choke.
They called it. I think at one point they called it more than a choke, a front head like a guillotine.
Yeah.
So they're getting it right.
Yeah, I think they have to. That's the thing about wrestling and pro wrestling is that they've always adapted over the years. They can adapt. So whatever's hot, whatever's going on, they just adapt to that trend, and then they can just mix it up afterwards. It's like
no, it's pretty crazy. And then
that's how they survive.
Yeah, and then I think there's a show. It was a show last night called King of Wrestling. I think it was. And one of the guys in the main event, they copied TJ's suplex to an armbar. Yeah, I guess it was crazy.
Yeah,
one of the wrestlers, I guess they were practicing it before the match, and they pulled it off in the match, and that's how he won.
And that's how he
won?
The
exact same way. German suplex to the armbar.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's crazy. That's the thing about what DJ did is the fact that it's like no one even think that you can pull something like that off in an actual fight. But yeah, we could talk about that right now. That was just an insane finish.
I mean, and he had a celebrity like The Rock and other people kind of tweeting the DJ and giving him his problems, which is nice because here's a guy that that I feel is always being disrespected by the fans and by the media alike, just because of his size. And for once, he's getting the props that he
Mm-hmm.
deserves. And you know, when Anderson Silva had that record, he never really made the record a big deal. Where
Yeah.
DJ kind of made it a big
Yeah.
deal,
He
so
kind of made it a big deal.
it felt important when he actually accomplished it. So it's cool hearing the DJ chants in the crowd
Yeah.
too. So
And I
people, you know, people are expecting them. It's cool to see.
and I think it just took him a long time to get that love. I mean, I think it is a size factor. I think the size is the biggest issue because if he was a big guy
Hmm.
and doing everything that he's doing, I think he would have gotten the respect that he deserves a lot quicker. I think it's a size thing. People take a long time to warm up to
Mm.
somebody so small
Yeah.
like him. Um, but I mean, you can't deny it. And then looking at everything in the rest of the division, it's like, or the rest of the divisions and other champions, like he sets himself apart from I think everybody. And we get into the pound for pound talk, I guess, because who's your top three? Because that's been going on right now ever since he broke the record. Who's is he number one? What do you think?
I think we off record we kind of spoke
Yeah, we
about
kind of
it.
talked a little bit about it.
And my first one was the first time we talked about it. I said GSP, DJ,
GSP,
and
yeah,
DC. But you made a good argument that made me think twice about my decision.
hmm
So yeah, I mean, I you're right. I mean, DJ, although he hasn't faced the kind of competition that the GSP has faced,
yeah,
he is fighting the modern era, and meaning that he's fighting guys who are more well-rounded than fighters that GSP kind of fought. Because back then they're pretty much one-dimensional fighters. Where nowadays you're
yeah.
fighting guys who are well-rounded in the sport. So
I mean, even more so than I think. Well, what I said, you said GSP and GSP. I would put GSP number two if anything. Um, but I think we kind of. Well, I made the point where, yeah, I thought GSP fought the people he fought weren't as well rounded because it was in the today's era and things change so fast. Fighters develop so fast. So if you
and the
look,
sport evolved so fast too.
yeah, and the most well rounded person that was dangerous in all areas in my mind, um, I think Carlos Condit was probably one of his most dangerous people, and he kind of manhandled Condit. Diaz, good but not a good wrestler, and even Condit is not a good wrestler. I don't know. I just felt like he did the level of competition again. Yeah, wasn't as well rounded as DJ's.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, in the
but
way that DJ has been finishing his fights,
and how he's doing it.
and then and the fact that I think you brought this point up too, that GSP got hurt in his fights where DJ's not getting touch. He's pretty much making these high level fighters look like amateurs,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's a nod to him too, and just an example of how great of a fighter he is. He's so technical, and so I mean he's as perfect as someone can be
yeah,
as far as his fights go, and as far as he's the best transition fighter in my opinion,
yeah,
with his striking and his wrestling, and his scrambles are good, and has a great submission game, and he even he I think one of the things that GSP did that was so great was he fought his opponent's strengths and beat him at that point.
hmm
Where I think GJ's doing the same thing, but he's finishing his points where GSP wasn't finishing; he was just dominating.
yeah. And I think GSP was one of those guys that transitioned from like striking to grappling to jiu-jitsu, whatever. Um, like one of the best, but I think DJ is just above
And beyond.
anybody really. Just the way he's so quick and his transitions and everything is just so flawless. It's like that's why I put him number one.
And he puts himself at risk. I mean, some of the stuff that
Yeah,
he
and he puts
does.
himself at risk. He'll give up his back. He'll put himself at risk, and then just like it's nothing. He's so calm and collected.
Hmm.
He already knows what he's gonna do next, and what he already can anticipate what the other guy's gonna do.
Yeah, and he's also the best fighter with the most finishes in the fifth round, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Like most fighters who dominate will kind of cruise, where
yeah,
this guy looks for the finish at all times. So
yeah. So my number one, I think, is DJ now, especially because he broke the record. Um,
the fashion,
it's in the modern era. He's cleaned out his division. The way he's doing it, it's so dominant, and then the and so flawless. it's just like the total package. I think
Yeah.
and he's never been popped for anything. He's never been, in trouble in any way. He rarely gets hit. It's just like like you could go down the list and he check marks all those boxes.
Yeah. It's because we have fighters out there who are great in the octagon or the cage, but
Yeah,
not so great outside the octagon and the cage. And
yeah,
DJ is pretty much the same person he is outside as he is inside.
yeah.
He's flawless.
Then I'll put GSP number two for
Yeah.
me. GSP number two because because he retired as a champion. He's fairly close to the modern era. I mean, he fought guys.
He's in between the
He's
gap.
in between.
Yeah.
9
title defenses.
Yeah, 9 title defenses. I mean, dominated guys. Even though he got hit and got bruised, he would win in dominant fashion most of the time. Finish guys in it early and more in his early career, and just I mean, you retire as champion with the 9 title defenses. I mean, you're one of the best in the world, one of the best athletes.
Yeah. And I think it's like for the first fighter to show athleticism in the cage.
Yeah, like real.
He's a great athlete.
Like a real athlete that other athletes in other sports can admire.
Yeah,
I think he was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
And then I'd put DC third because he's so dominant in 2 different weight classes, a champion in 2 different weight classes,
undefeated, but
undefeated except
for John Jones.
He can't say he's the number 1 in his division, and that's where I put him at number 3. He's lost. And I think that's basically it. I would say because he can't claim the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
You can't put him as the number 1 pound for pound. You can't.
I mean, if we include females, I'd put Joanna above DC.
I probably would too. And we can. I think we can include females.
I mean,
but I think
I have a hard time only because of competition.
Yeah, I would say that too. I think with Joanna, I think it's
it has nothing to do with their gender. It's just
I think for women's divisions, the competition's still growing.
Yeah, and
still developing.
And I think scientifically, females are not as strong as males.
Yeah.
So,
but then you could put Cyborg. She's cleaned out most of the girls from multiple eras.
Yeah, but then she has that PED pop.
She has a PED pop,
so it kind of excludes her.
Joanna, I mean, she's in the modern era. She's dominant, but the level of competitions, she doesn't have that many opponents. I mean, Claudia, Jessica Andrade. She's going to fight Rose Namajunas. I think she's going to beat Rose.
I mean, like you can say the same thing about DJ. She's a victim of her competition.
Yeah.
You can't really fault her. She has nothing to do with the people that she's fighting. But I mean,
I think DJ has higher level in his division than Joanna.
I mean, because Joanna, it's a whole gender thing.
The whole gender thing. I think the women's divisions in general across the board, I think, are still developing slowly.
Yeah,
I mean, behind
the evolution of women mixed martial arts is just. I mean, if you put Ronda Rousey as your forefather of everything, it's not that long. It's only been less than 10 years.
Yeah.
So that the whole women division versus men. I mean, it's still in development.
Yeah.
But you want it, man.
And then people put, people like, what about Anderson? What about Jones? They both got popped.
Yeah.
So that puts an asterisk on that, and it kind of takes him out of the equation, I think.
And the way Anderson hasn't won. I mean, he's lost so many fights.
He's lost. But he's been dominant. When he was dominant, but it was in a different era. To where I think a lot of the fighters were even more so than GSP, a little bit more one dimensional.
Yeah,
like Damian Maia. He fought Damian Maia early in his UFC career, where Damian Maia was basically just a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Anderson was always be considered one of the best, just because he was the first person to ever do the things that he did,
and he set the record. And the way he was doing it was above and beyond. Like the way he was doing it was just spectacular. So
it was like Matrix,
yeah, it was Matrix. So he's definitely in the equation, but the fact that he got popped, and I would say the level of competition at the time compared to, let's say, DJs or even DC now, you could make an argument to where he's not number 1.
For sure he's on number 1.
Yeah,
for sure he's on
number 2 even. But he's in the equation top 5 at least for sure.
Yeah, top 5 for sure. Yeah,
I think it's top 5. To round out the top 5 is Jones and Anderson for sure. But
if you exclude them, if you exclude the PD pops, then none of them qualify.
But then Jones, I would say Jones. Jones is just way he's doing it is impressive. But if you look at the overall record, he's fighting guys, yes, with names, yes, with former champions, and people put him high up because they were former champions. But they were most of them were at the tail end of their careers
and fighting past their prime.
They're past their primes. Like most
they
of them
weren't the same fighters.
No, they weren't the same fighters early in their career when Jones was fighting at his age.
Yeah, and then you look to the future and you see the guys that he fought later on in his title reign,
like
Gustafsson, who's someone who fought in the modern era, who almost beat him.
He almost beat him.
And you can say what you want, like you can say he undertrained or he didn't train,
but he almost beat him.
Woke up.
A young guy, beat him. Same kind of age.
Well, it's the first time we saw Jones in trouble. With the first time we saw that, hey, size does matter with Jones, because when you fight guys with the same length and the same size as you can have trouble.
Because if you look at like Bonner, what's his name?
Forrest Griffin.
Who else? You go up the list. Rampage, even Machida, even like a bunch of the guys. They were at the tail ends of their careers. Like they were older, a lot older than Jones's was at that time, and it was. I mean, they're big names. That's the only thing I think he was like beating these big names like so easily.
And then like 205, like. They I mean, like, say what it is. I mean, let's say put the cards on the table. But I mean, that division has older fighters in that division.
Yeah,
you see DC.
He's in Shogun.
Yeah,
Shogun's what, number 6? Something like that.
It's crazy. And then like he beat DC twice. Yeah, but DC's also 38 years old.
Yeah, and I think So DC, I put him still. Is it? What's your top 3? Is it same as mine?
Same.
I think it's same as
DJ, GSP, DC.
DC. Yeah.
And I mean, if we include the females, I'd put Joanna at number 3.
Joanna number 3. Yeah. Yeah. I would put Cyborg, but again, we're doing the whole PED thing. You got to take her out.
She's disqualified.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think especially with DC doing. I mean, I'm glad he's getting finally the respect he deserves, and the way he's just doing it, and the way he carries himself. It's just everything. He's such a nice guy too. I've met him. I've seen him. In person, we've met him. I remember my time over at the UFC. I met him there. He came in with all the other interns and just gave this motivational speech. But it was kind of like he was adding a lot of humor to it, where he had his hands behind his back, he was marching back and forth like a general. It was funny, and he came in like he was like right next to me, like right here, like he was doing it right behind me.
Yeah,
and it's so nice. Like he was there for like a meeting, but he came in. He saw us. He came in and just gave this like speech, and then just walked out. And it was
yeah. I think my interaction with him was at backstage at 199.
That's right.
Yeah. He came in to do some media. He was talking with Ariel for a while. I kind of just waited, and then I spoke to him for maybe like I'd say 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was taller than him. It was crazy.
But he's solid though.
He is so solid.
He's so solid. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like I felt really nervous, but he said, "Hey, don't be nervous, man. I'm just me." He said, "Okay." He started talking about like comics and like his wrestling, and then he had to go. His wife came in, and he had to do the media. But super nice guy.
Super nice guy. Yeah. So I mean, you can't deny. I think he's. I mean, that's what he did on that night. Even Ray Borg, call him what he is. Maybe not the top of the food chain, but he's still in the top 10 of that division. Very tough guy, well-rounded guy. Held his own at least up until he got submitted. I mean, most guys probably would have been finished a lot quicker than that. Guys like Wilson Hayes got finished before that. So, I think give what his props, and he's young too. He's like 24.
Yeah, he is.
So, he'll have his time. But I mean, he showed a lot of promise and looked really good. I mean, in terms of defense, he looked okay. He survived.
Yeah. He survived.
So, but good fights. That card was good. And then, we want to get to our first guest.
Yeah,
let's get to our first guest. So, on the show we have EFC Extreme Fighting Champion, light heavyweight Stuart Austin. He's going to be on the show right now. We're going to show you his interview. He is fighting for the light heavyweight title, I think November 4th, if I'm not mistaken. EFC 65. This is over in South Africa. Fighting out of London. Really cool guy. So here's our interview with Stuart Austin.
Next up on the show, Stuart Austin, EFC light heavyweight, fighting this coming November, I believe 4th, right? For the EFC 65 for the light heavyweight title. Thank you for being on the show, man. How's everything going in terms of training, and just give us an update?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, guys. Stuff's really good at the moment. I'm training hard at the moment. We've got lots of different partners coming in for me, which is great. I'm relatively healthy at the moment, which is something I can't say I've been for a long time. So that's pretty good. So I'm feeling really, I'm feeling really positive about this actually. It's nice to be back to light heavyweight. I've only been there once, so it's this time the weight has come off almost too quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, feeling really good.
Awesome.
Good. Now, before we get into the fight and then the division, the title, I need to ask you. Your nickname is He-Man. Like, were you ever a fan of the cartoon series, Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I liked it a little bit. Yeah, it was more my brother's generation. He-Man was, but I did like it. I had some of the toys. I had Battle Cat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was someone from the gym who actually gave me the name in the first place. Because
you resemble,
especially when I'm training, my hair gets long and starts to turn into a bit of a. It's not too long at the moment. It turns into a bit of a bowl cut.
Okay, you should bring a sword and a shield with you.
To whip my shirt off.
Yeah, you should bring like a sword and a shield with you to the ring.
Yeah. I have thought about it, but the problem is if you're that guy who brings a sword and a shield to the ring, you get brutally. Bashed. Have you then got to drag your sword and shield out?
Exactly.
Like an idiot. It's a big commitment.
Yeah, you're right. So you're back at light heavyweight. You mentioned that right now. How's the weight cut going? Obviously it's coming off a lot better for you, but is this something you're gonna do? From now on, is light heavyweight your division now, and not heavyweight?
Yeah. Unless the right fight comes up at heavyweight, if a good opportunity is a good opportunity. But my intention wasn't to go back to heavyweight like I did for my last fight. I think I had 10. I can't remember if it's 10 or 11 people in a row turn me down, or they were sort of injured, so to speak, or this or that, and they couldn't do it that weekend, and it just was getting a bit ridiculous. And so I just. I spoke to Graham, who is the one of the head honchos at the EFC, and he said he's got he had a heavyweight available at the time. So I just jumped at the chance. I just wanted to fight. It's important to stay busy. So so I took the opportunity. But light heavyweight is where I want to be. I want to go to. It's my natural division. It's down to about 228, 229 now. So I can cut from there. I'm actually hoping. I'm hoping to walk in the cage probably heavier than my last fight heavyweight. So because I tried to put on a bit of weight between. So it's really good.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, you're 12-3. Like you're pretty much like a veteran in the sport. Like you fought for Bellator and other promotions as well. What's it mean to you to fight for the light heavyweight title for Bama, and your thoughts on your fight
for EFC?
EFC.
The EFC belts, it's a big belt. It's like obviously it's the biggest company in Africa, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And quite a few of their guys have recently got signed, which is obviously a big thing to think about. So I don't know. It's like to me the belt's a bonus. The fight is what I want. The guy's a good guy and he's had some finishes. He's had some tough fights and he's built up a reasonable reputation. Guys who are like with solid records, really good winning records, are the guys you need to beat to move to the next level.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, everyone can be king of their local show, knocking out this bum and that guy and whatever. But I want to be, I want to be at the top. So, that's the way you want to go on legit shows, and not take the easy route.
Yeah. So you're fighting Delcha. Did it surprise you to get the title shot this quick with the promotion? Because this is only your second fight with the promotion, right?
Yeah, but unlike a lot of the guys in this promotion, I'm coming with more of a background. So I'm a former Bama champion at heavyweight.
Yeah.
And my light heavyweight debut, I was against a ranked European guy, and I just took him to pieces in a couple of minutes. So it's and like I stepped up and fought Elvis Moya because he's not someone people like to fight. Because even though he's fairly one-dimensional, since his takedown defense has got a lot better, and he's got violent knockout power. A lot of people I think were avoiding the fight with him, so it kind of made sense for me. But I just don't think there's many people in the sport who one way or another I can't take down. Like my shots are quite good, like my wrestling style takedowns, but because of my judo background, like when I fought a Polish wrestling champion, and I fought one of the guys I fought out in Bellator had pretty extensive wrestling background, and like in that situation, I used my upper body clinch and judo style and sort of Greco style takedowns. Nobody apart from guys I've taken every single person down I've fought. Doesn't matter how good they are at wrestling, unless I've knocked them out. Basically, it is what it is. So I rely on I trust in myself.
Yeah, cool. And if you do win the title in November, do you want to, because MMA has changed a lot, nowadays. Now people are winning titles and going for super fights. Is that something that you want to do too? Is like go for 2 titles at one time or fight super fights?
Potentially. Like those guys are pretty big. Like Elvis Moya I think he was about 118 kilos when I fought him.
Yeah.
And I was 103. So sorry, I always forget to convert it because they work in kilos as well.
Yeah.
So he was like 260.
Yeah.
And I weighed in about 228. I want to say 227.
Jeez.
And that was like at the time I was a little bit lighter than that. I think I drank about 2 liters before I got on the scale.
That's crazy.
I'm actually heavier now than I was then.
Right.
And Andrew Van Zyl, who's the heavyweight champ, is bigger than him. He cuts to make the heavyweight limit. So I don't know. It's certainly something I'm looking at, but one step at a time. I'd like to win this fight, possibly defend it, and then think about getting the second belt. But really, in career-wise, the smart choice is at light heavyweight. I've had opportunities offered me, some really big fights against big names at heavyweight, and I'm just at a point where I'm like, I've picked my weight division, and it's just like, what is the point fighting, some of the big superstars of the sport?
Yeah.
As sort of like on 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I think, well, this is an opportunity, and I see people, especially if they're a little bit older, they're beatable. But then I'm just thinking, if I lose, it pushes me back. And what I want to do right now is move forward in my division, which is light heavyweight now. And it's just building the name as a light heavyweight. Obviously, most of my reputation is at heavyweight. So, I've got to build myself in this division before I can be jumping around and doing whatever I want.
How soon are you going to head out to Johannesburg? Or is that something, is you head out that week? Is it something that you do 2 weeks prior? Or what do you do?
Hopefully as soon as possible. Hopefully 10 to 14 days, like before the fight. It's at altitude, so it's I think about 4,500 feet, something like that. It's pretty high.
It's pretty high. Yeah.
And last time I fought, I was actually quite surprised, just how much it affected me the first couple of days.
Yeah.
The first few times I was on the treadmill. Just doing some conditioning and stuff. But I adapted quickly. But obviously, in a 5-round fight, you want to have as much adaptations as possible. But I'm trying to do everything I can. That's obviously that's allowed. That I get every advantage that I can. I've done my research on the sort of sports science side of it, on how to get the most out of myself at that altitude.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, this fight is it's obviously for the championship title. So. This training camp, has it been different than other training camps because it's for a title, or has it been the same?
I don't really change too much for opponents, to be honest. I'm fairly well rounded. I don't know if you've seen many of my fights, but most of my fights are pretty different.
Yeah.
I'll go out there and strike with someone, and the next match I won't. I'll barely throw. Almost throw. Only throw punches to get in for my shots, or in the next match I'm looking to clinch up, and I can. So, I kind of do as I want a little bit in the fight. We'll have tendencies. with what we're going to do, but I kind of go out there and we work it out. I can do most things in this, in the sport. If you name it, probably the only technique off the top of my head I can't really do it in terms of striking. I can't do spinning hook kicks. That's it. But about everything else, I can do. So I like to play as we go. Adjust my style as I'm going in, and on my sort of corner's advice.
Yeah. Now, several years ago, I know you made some kind of what your thoughts on the sport overall and the athletes in it. You considered more MMA fighters as athletes than fighters. Is that something that you still feel that way, or is it how do you want it, or can you elaborate in terms of what your thought process is on the sport overall?
You mean myself or just all the people?
Everybody in general. Because I know you consider yourself like a premier athlete, and you are. But you can also consider the I read that you considered fighters more of in MMA athletes rather than fighters themselves. Yeah.
I think a lot of the best fighters are athletes.
Yeah.
If you look at the top guys, there are some of the gritty guys in there, but if you look at the weekend, just in the UFC, you look at Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
Nobody, he's a pure athlete. He's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's not just some hard-nosed guy who's going to go in there and and there is a place for that in the sport, and some of those guys, get so good at what they do, they're able to push through. I'd say almost like Cody Garbrandt's almost that type of fighter. He's a fighter.
Yeah.
But I think in the majority of cases, more people tend to be, treated more athletically. I mean, even Cody, I say that to a point. Cody's like, he also, he might be a fighter, but he also happens to be a freak. He's athletically, he's phenomenal. He's a monster. A tiny monster.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, you still see those guys in certain divisions, who just carve out a path by just knocking people's teeth out and snap, but I think more people are, just trying to be more athletic, trying to be more like professionals, because I think that's the way you want to go. If you want to be a professional athlete, you've got to act like a professional athlete.
Yeah.
At the end,
exactly. Yeah.
If you look at any other sport, if you want to get paid the big bucks, you have to be be a professional.
Right. Yeah, and we talked about the person that kind of set that trend was GSP. It was one of the first fighters out there that kind of just had that athletic, like a real athlete, where other athletes in other sports kind of looked to him as a real athlete. It was one of the first people to do that. Yeah.
He really took it to another level, didn't he? His level of professionalism, and I still think you can still have that the fun side of it. Mm-hmm. You're gonna still have these crazy characters, and that's fun. But I mean, even look at Conor. Conor's the perfect example of both.
Yeah.
No stone is left unturned with his training. You saw his camp for the Mayweather fight. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff he's doing. He's investing some of that money he's being paid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the guy's, he's clearly a wild man as well.
Yeah.
If he hadn't found the sport, imagine, he'd be probably on the streets of Dublin, outside a pub, kicking somebody's head in or something, wouldn't he?
Or a pro wrestler.
Or a pro wrestler, right?
Pro wrestler.
Man, I would. There's my second calling. I would love to be a pro wrestler. It's so fun. Yeah, it's wicked fun.
Are you a fan of the WWE or other promotions?
No, not so much. I like a lot of the old stuff. I'll be honest, I'm as much a fan of old school like wrestling promos as anything else.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than like some old school Ric Flair.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's it draws you in.
Yeah.
But I'll dip my toes in the water. I went to a TNA show last year, and that was phenomenal. Yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Awesome.
Some of the stuff the guys are doing is just like, I was honestly, I was terrified for him. Stand guys jumping on who was it? It's one of the English guys. He went through one of their reality shows, an English lad. Anyway, smaller guy.
Yeah.
But he was on the top of the cage. He jumped. He's like those guys ain't jumping. I was amazed, because I've not seen a cage match sort of style live. and he didn't jump down. He jumped up off the cage.
Oh my god!
And I was just like, it's a lot of the stuff I don't think they really do in the WWE anymore, do they? Because they're worried, about. And these guys are just.
They do sometimes. This past weekend,
this past Sunday was Hell in a Cell. And Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon jumped off the cage.
50s, he jumped off his cage, and the table didn't break. His body kind of bounced off the table, and then it broke. But he was high up, and he was all the way at the top of the cage when he
oh man,
flew off that cage.
Brutal.
Yeah, and he's up there in age too. He's not like a
he was
young guy.
he was
in his 50s.
Attitude Era and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's crazy. Those guys are still doing that. It's crazy. Yeah. Like, do you do like those kind of style promos after your fights, or?
I'm trying to add a little bit.
You should, man.
I normally
you know what works?
I normally
bash America.
What
should bash America. The
thing is, if you, I can do the same thing in South Africa to the South Africans. They're pretty nationalistic.
Yeah.
You have to be. Yeah. Oh man, there's some of them already starting to hate me. Literally, it was crazy. Like the run up to the last fight, I only had a bit of fun with it. I was sort of bit of a smile on my face while I was saying some stupid stuff, and they were going wild, so angry, and people were putting crazy money on the fight. All my friends were so upset because you could only bet on the fight in South Africa. Yeah. All the South African gaming websites were taking it, but you had to have a South African account. And the odds were like 4-1 against me. It was mental. And the guy, and just like people were throwing money down to see me lose. And I was just, it's hilarious. It's so funny.
If you win
and I think it'll be the same this time.
If you win the bout, you should spray paint it, man.
NWO
style,
like a big British flag.
Do that and say, and tell the crowd, wild, wouldn't it? Yeah, and tell the crowd they worship you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a bit of history there as well with the UK and South Africa as well, isn't it? All the
the ultimate heel, man. Ultimate heel. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if they boo you or cheer; it just matters if they care. So. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I had a good reception, to be fair. People were really cool out there. I think it's the sort of one which I imagine is kind of like a wrestling audience. People like to boo you, but they still kind of like you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They in the same way, even people who don't like something like a Chael Sonnen kind of like him.
Yeah.
It's like they like to hate him. It's not like a real. It's fun though. It's cool. Yeah. Really, the sport is huge out there. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Their last event, their event with Yannick Bahati and Dricus du Plessis, they had nearly 2 million people watch it just on in South Africa. That's and then crazy. It goes out across all sub-Saharan Africa as well, and then streamed on live online.
Yeah.
But they had millions of people watching it. It's mental. It's on awesome. It's on a terrestrial channel, like a basic channel.
Yeah,
a free. It's huge. It's so popular. It's really different, certainly to the UK.
Yeah.
Even in the UK, the UFC, you start to see some posters.
Yeah.
But it's still such a if you know sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
I get recognised at MMA shows or in MMA gyms, but apart from that, never. And even I'm friends with obviously through gyms and stuff with some good UFC fighters and stuff, and they barely ever, barely ever get recognised, which I suppose is kind of a good thing in the UK. You get a bit more anonymity.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, at least from our standpoint over here in America, I guess it seems like it would be a lot bigger. Like a lot of fighters would get a little bit more attention, but I guess it's not so much. It's still growing.
Yeah, still growing. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, the UK, I don't know, we still don't really like fighting. People love it, and we've got such a rich history in boxing. Some people love it, but so many people just hate the violence, and they hate this and that. And it's, even with the BBC, it's only till... I think I was actually the first MMA fighter to be featured on any BBC thing ever.
That's crazy.
I was on a radio show drive time for 2 minutes once, and then they slowly trickled, and then all of a sudden they were like, okay, we'll let Conor McGregor, because he's just so big they can't deny it anymore. But that was last year. It was only last year they started having anything to do with MMA on their shows. Yeah, absolutely wild. Like how big of a thing it is, and they're just not putting anything into it.
It's not that accepted yet.
It's sort of taboo.
I think people do. Yeah. But I think almost like, I don't want to say the establishment, like it's a big conspiracy or something, but almost, it's kind of a bit over the top. But, almost
the general public.
Yeah, it's more, even general public, everyone watches it a little bit. Lots of guys, and especially younger generations do, kids do. But I think it's still seen as a bit of an oddity, a bit of a show, a bit of a sort of sideshow more than a sport yet.
Well, one thing that you can do to make people notice you is walk around the streets with a belt if you win the belt.
That would probably work. That would probably work. Like Tim Sylvia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tim Sylvia used to that. Yeah, back in the day.
You should go to strip clubs with that belt, so you can probably do the same thing. Get some girls too.
Oh man!
All right, man. Hey, it's been great talking to you, Stuart. We wish you all the best of luck. On your fight on November 4th. We look forward to it.
Cheers, thank you.
I'm sure you're gonna bring home that belt. If you want, give the shout out to the fans. Let them know where to find you on social media. Maybe even some of your sponsors, if you like.
Oh, cool! Thank you very much. I'm at Stuart Austin MMA. STUART AUSTIN MMA on everything basically. My sponsors at the moment is just XS Guard, Gum Shield company. Speaking to a few people, hoping to get some other people on board. But that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Thanks to Fight Zone London, Titan Fighter, Commander Temple Gym. Actually, I'm getting a nice big T Ortiz list. What else? I always forget stuff.
No pressure. No pressure. Well, best of luck, Stuart, in your training camp. Hope you stay healthy and hope you win that title on November 4th. But until then, dude, Josh and I are looking forward to your heel turn, man. Just order a big robe.
Go to a Ric Flair robe.
Yeah, go to Ric Flair. Bash America, Bash Africa, Bash everybody.
I'm not ordering it. I'm making it myself. You've got to hand make these things. So it's not authentic.
Even better, man.
My featherwork's through the roof.
Yeah, man. Cut that heel promo too when you win that title as well. All right, so talk to you later, man. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
All right, take care.
And that was Stuart Austin, EFC Extreme Fighting Championship out in what's it called? South Africa.
Yeah.
Fighting this November for the light heavyweight title. So thank you to Stuart for being on the show. Next up, also at 216? That was the event.
Yeah.
216 number. I like all these numbers. Tony Ferguson winning the interim light heavyweight championship. Former guest on the show. We've seen him around before, all over the Southern California area. He's from Orange County. What did you think of his performance? And him finally getting a title. He's been the number one contender for quite a while.
Yeah, I'm happy that he finally is getting the big money fight. I think he deserves it. He's been on a 10-fight win streak.
Yeah, he got paid $500K, I think, total in terms of disclosed amount.
Yeah, that's good for him. Yeah, and he's, if Conor's defended that title, I'm comfortable calling him the real champ. He's fought the who's who in that division and arguably the best division in MMA, including all other promotions. I think 155 is the deepest in MMA, and the fact that he's on a 10-fight win streak in that division is crazy in itself.
Yeah.
As far as his performance goes, I think I expected him to do what he did. I think he's the type of fighter that kind of exposed he puts himself in danger a lot, and he's always getting hit. He does unnecessary. His movement and stuff and the way he fights, if he fights someone like Conor, Conor will finish him under 3 rounds. But I think he did what he had to do. I think he waited for Kevin Lee to gas out, considering that Kevin Lee had a bad staph infection that made him not make weight. So he gassed out and he submitted him via triangle choke, and I'm happy he did it. I'm happy that he finally got that bout, and I think the next fight for him should be Conor, not Nate Diaz.
I think so too. I think yeah, I think so too. I think he did a good performance. I thought he took a little bit. He was a little too cocky. I felt like I thought like, dude, Kevin Lee could catch you at any moment. I think you're. I mean, I know that's your style to put your hands down and do these little pot shots, and then go for like set something up. But I think he was being a little too cocky, a little too risky. But I think his game plan was to wear him out into the later rounds, and that's what worked. I mean, he submitted him, and in a submission that Kevin Lee got out of originally, and then stayed on the ground with Kevin or with Tony, and then finally got submitted with a triangle choke. I think it was an armbar originally. Was it an armbar? I think it was an armbar.
Yeah, right? Armbar to the triangle. Yeah,
armbar to a triangle. But he got out of the armbar originally, and then stayed in the guard with him, and then eventually got triangled. But yeah, I would say that with Kevin Lee, I mean, obviously the staph infection, which we found out he had, and the bad weight cut, which I think was a part of the staph infection, I think played a part. But either way, Tony's conditioning is what sets him apart from a lot of the people. He's so tough. He takes a shot. He keeps on going. He's like Frankenstein, and he just wears guys out.
And his submission game is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's so even though his striking game isn't the greatest, his submission game is super deadly, quick. It reminds me of like a Condit. Like Condit used to just go right to the ground, and he was just so quick and would look to finish guys as fast as he could. Or like a Nogueira, where they just constantly looking for submissions. Tony's just like that. So dangerous. Yeah, so I thought it was a great performance and well-deserved. I mean, finally got a belt, long-awaited.
And, and most guys are comfortable with staying in guard and kind of holding their opponents down, hoping that the referee would, set him up. With Ferguson, he uses his elbows.
Yeah.
And he makes his opponent open up for submissions. So
very active on the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see Eddie Bravo there too.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah, I'm happy for him, for Tony, but I think Conor would dismantle him pretty fast. I don't see Ferguson passing the third round. Only because he leaves himself open for hits, for damage, and Conor's strength is his counter striking. So
yeah, and if Conor can land on guys like Nate, if Conor can land on guys like Eddie Alvarez and even Mayweather, the fact that he can land really devastating shots on all those guys at the highest level of both sports, I mean, what can he do with Tony? I mean, Tony eats shots all day.
And the fact that he trained exclusively in boxing, and he fought the best fighter in boxing in our generation.
Yeah,
he's gonna bring those tools in that fight, and I think he's gonna have a big advantage striking wise.
As long as he can
avoid the takedown, right?
Yeah, as long as McGregor can conserve his energy and avoid like scrambles and Tony's guard as much as he can, I think he can easily beat Tony. I think Tony's has too many holes in his game that it plays into Conor's strength.
Yeah, but I think Ferguson isn't the greatest draw, but I think with his trash talking, I mean, he's not at the level of Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
But I think a back and forth between Conor and Ferguson would be entertaining.
It'll be entertaining.
And I think that if they do it right, I think they should have 2 months of building up the fight. And I think Conor would be happy to have Ferguson, someone who can bring the promotion along with him, and someone that, because in the past, it's pretty much Conor holding his end for both opponents.
Yeah.
Where I think this time, I think Tony could hold his own, and they can both tell the fight.
I mean, Tony's not the greatest talker,
but he can do it.
He'll at least sell.
He'll engage.
He'll do what he can.
And he'll engage with Conor, and he'll have an engaging spar with Conor McGregor to make the fight interesting. I think give those guys 2 months to promote that fight, and I think it could be a big money fight.
Especially that post fight interview at the end where that call out.
Cringeworthy.
Cringeworthy. Yes. I mean, not just cringeworthy in terms of like the type of like the call out. I mean, it was kind of appropriate, I guess. It's what you needed to say, but how he said it. I mean, the UFC can't use that promo in like that soundbite for any of their promos because it's like it's filled with curse words.
I mean, they can, and they did it with Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz
but
was
there's
worse.
A lot. Yeah, I guess.
I think Nate Diaz, every other word was a cuss word.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they can bleep it out, I guess. But it'd have been, I don't know, maybe one or two curse words, but he used it quite a bit. So it's like,
yeah, not as much as Nate Diaz, and they used Nate Diaz's that promo everywhere.
Yeah,
it worked.
It worked.
It's just he did what he had to do. It was too pro wrestling ish for my taste. But that's Ferguson. I mean, I don't know. I mean, props that he at least did that.
Yeah.
Most guys either said, "Oh, whatever the UFC," or he could just walked away like he did the last time. The fact that he said something.
It was genuine.
And if he planned that scene, as long as he's active and does it from now on, I think he can. I think both guys can make a lot of money with his next fight.
Yeah. I mean, it was a genuine call out. It wasn't like too fake.
Yeah,
it was okay. Did you hear about them losing UFC at least losing the Bud Light sponsorship?
Yeah,
and then they're going with Modelo.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this.
Modelo is good beer, but
but it's like I told you before, it's like Beverly Hills to East LA.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean they're kind of the ghetto beer.
It's kind
and they bring in ghetto people. I don't know. It's just weird. It's sad because the UFC has. I put them on such a high pedestal.
I think Tecate.
I think Tecate is worse.
I think Tecate is worse. I think if they would have, beer wise, I mean they're all decent. Mexican beers are actually pretty good, but in terms of beer, I think Modelo would have if you're gonna go with Mexican beer, I think Modelo is probably the nicest one that you could probably go with.
Yeah,
that's a nice label, everything but.
When I see Modelo, I think of soccer.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I don't think UFC. I think soccer. But that's in the U.S. too. It's not even like just international. That's it. The U.S. sponsorship is no longer Bud Light. It's Modelo.
Yeah, I mean, I think the UFC dropped the ball here, and I think they can. I think Bud Light not only is universally more known than Modelo, but
it's an American brand.
It's an American brand. It's the American beer.
It's the American beer.
I think they have a lot more money than Modelo.
Yeah.
Modelo must have cost a lot of money to get the sponsorship, but I don't know. It'd be kind of ghetto to see the Modelo logo in the UFC Octagon.
I think so. I mean, they could I don't know. They could make it work. I think it would have been worse if they would have went like Tecate or what's that new one that they're promoting everywhere? The Estrella Jalisco. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah,
that was a good beer though. They're all good. That one's good beer, but that one's ghetto too.
I mean, I agree. Mexican beer is good. I mean, I'm a bit of a beer snob. It's good beer, but if I don't know for like luck and for money and sponsorship, I think Bud Light is the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with the call, but.
And then you have what I thought too was because Dana White's like friends with Trump, so I was like, I wonder what Trump's gonna think when they have
I know, right?
Modelo on the canvas.
Yeah, he's like, damn it, I ain't going to your events anymore.
What is this?
But I mean,
American beer.
Yeah, it's a weird decision on the UFC's part. So they definitely dropped the ball. I'm curious to see what's going to happen when their TV deal is up and who they go for.
I think that all played a part in it, though. I think Bud Light maybe backed out a little bit because the TV deal's uncertain. They're like, we can't put this much money in. Modelo was probably like, here, take our money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just went with that. And I think out of the, like I said, international beers or even like Mexican beers or whatever you want to call it, Modelo is probably one of the better classier branded Mexican beers that you could probably go for it. So what else is out there?
Like I'm thinking now, there's Pacifico, there's Tecate, there's Victoria,
Corona. I mean, you could go
I
Corona.
put Corona above Modelo, or maybe at the same level as Modelo.
Yeah, but
It's
do you
more
think
whitewashed too.
Yeah, I would say Corona's a little bit more whitewashed.
Yeah,
A little bit more accepted it with in the U.S.
It's more mainstream than
it's
Modelo.
more mainstream. I think it's more mainstream. Yeah, we could say that. I think it's more mainstream in the U.S. as Corona. Not Modelo. Modelo's still, it's kind of like that third
It's still
tier.
like I see Modelo like in boxing where they do
it's
MMA.
more of a boxing beer. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, Tecate is a big boxing beer.
Mm-hmm.
They have they're all over the place. Tecate girls are always at the and Corona girls. Corona and Tecate are boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if Corona was exclusive to boxing, that's why they didn't.
Maybe that's why.
MMA.
Yeah, maybe that's why. That's probably why. And a lot of these beers are owned by other beers. Like Budweiser, I think probably owns Corona and all these other. It's kind of like TV.
Yeah.
Where like this one station owns like half the channels out there. So it's like.
Yeah, it's almost like I know Albertsons owns Vons and like Safeway. So it's
or like Coca-Cola owns like Dasani and like these brands. Sprite. You think they're competitors, but they're actually owned by the same people.
Like Pepsi, Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Same
thing. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe those were taken by Budweiser. Those are actually maybe Budweiser beers.
Yeah.
So they can't go with that.
I still think it's a bad decision. But hey, who knows? I mean, I'm just someone that. I mean, I'm not making millions of dollars.
Yeah,
so who knows?
They'll make it work. Yes, I think they'll make it work. And then Ian McCall. Do you want to say something quick about Ian McCall?
Retiring? Yeah, I mean,
he was going to retire, but then he actually opted to get out of his contract.
Yeah, he asked for a release. They granted him. I think for him, it's a good idea. He's not an active fighter. He wasn't clear to fight a lot of times. I think, the fact that USADA was like a thorn on the side. The fact that they're always there. I think if he goes to like a Bellator or somewhere else where he can make more money and be a more established fighter, I think it'll be good for him. I think he's asking for a minimum of $100,000. Good luck to that. I don't think he can make that much money anywhere else. It'd be hard for any promotion to give him that much money, but I think it's a good idea for him to part ways with the UFC. Who knows, he could make more money elsewhere, but
he struggled over the past few years, like getting fights, making fights, with injuries and weight cutting issues, and I mean, it hasn't been good 2 to 3 years for him. Like, when was the last time he fought? I don't remember.
I think if he fights in a Bellator, he does well. He could always get re-signed by the UFC.
Yeah,
but I think either retirement or going to a good Bellator is his best option right now.
Yeah, he's not going to get $100K. I mean, maybe if you want to include sponsorship in that thing, but
he wants $100K for a fight, which is kind of crazy.
I can see him going to Bellator eventually once he lets all this drama, subside, and I think Bellator would probably be his next step.
Yeah, I agree.
Or Japan.
Oh yeah, he talked about rising a lot in the interview actually. So
yeah, I was I want to go.
Like, he could even go to one.
I want to go. That's one of my dreams, is to go see my bucket list, I guess, if you want to call it, to go see a fight in Japan.
I want to go to Japan, and just to go to Japan.
Yeah, that too.
Especially after seeing Terrace House. Oh my god.
Yes.
It's the greatest show ever.
You're a fan of Terrace House.
It's the greatest show ever.
Yeah. We had a good conversation about Terrace House with Wei Ting last time he was here.
Actually, I've been going back and forth with Wei. He said that that he wants to get my thoughts and opinions when he comes on as an in-house guest. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's actually gonna in the works. So he's gonna be in town.
Yeah. He agreed
in a couple weeks
to come here.
And we're gonna have our first in-studio guest.
Yeah, he said that he wants to he doesn't mind talking about pro wrestling and MMA, but he wants to have like a discussion, kind of like a
talk.
Yeah, so he wants to. He said that save my opinions for Terrace House. So
yeah,
we might have a big rant on Terrace House.
So Wei Ting of the Fight Network, of Revere Raw, Revere Way.
Yeah,
Live Audio Wrestling will be here.
Yeah, so if you guys, those guys who watched our show or listen to our show, go to Netflix, watch Terrace House, so you guys can be up to date when we have our Terrace House discussion.
Terrace House. So Terrace House is Japanese
real world
version of the it's like a real world of MTV's Real World, or even Big Brother, whatever you want to show you want to compare it to. It's the Japanese version.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
Very entertaining.
It's very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. It's on Netflix. You can binge watch it, like all the seasons. It's really good.
That panel is one of my favorites.
Which one?
Like the cut scenes to the panel.
Oh, you like them now? Yeah.
Yeah, I hated them before. Yeah.
It takes a little getting used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy with the glasses is hilarious.
Hilarious, man. Freaking even the ladies are hilarious. So like the older lady.
The older lady that dress is kind of weird.
Yeah,
she's hilarious.
And the guy next to her, the one that sits on the floor.
Oh yeah.
He's pretty funny too.
Yeah,
pretty good.
The guy without the glasses.
Yeah, the guy without the glasses. Yeah,
he's pretty funny too.
The girl that's really cute. The cute
the host.
The host. The cute
my
Japanese.
God, she is so
pretty,
sexy.
Man.
God damn.
She's so pretty. I think she's like half Japanese. I think she kind of gave a hint that her dad was maybe a U.S. military guy over there.
Okay. Yeah, she's very. I enjoy looking at her a lot.
She's so pretty. Oh,
she is. The way she dresses too.
Yeah, and she dresses so like chic, like high class Japanese girl. She dresses like that.
Yeah, hottie. Check it out. Netflix, Terrace House. You won't regret it.
Yeah. Let's get into our next guest.
Yeah.
We have another guest on the show. Is Julija? I'm gonna butcher her last name. Stoliarenko.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, she fights out of KOK World Fighting Championship over in it's in Europe. It's like a Europe-based, Russian type of European-based promotion, KOK. She fights out of that. She's training in Japan right now, so we're Skyping her from Japan. Here's her interview. Enjoy it. All right, next up on the show, Julija Stoliarenko. Glad to have you on the show, fighting for a KOK World Series, championship, and great to have you on and finally get you on. You're over there in Tokyo. How's everything going? And are you training out there? What's taking you over there to Tokyo?
Thanks a lot for your show.
Yeah.
I just came to Tokyo. I'm actually living in Tokyo for last year.
Oh, wow.
Like a year ago, I got proposed from my manager, from KOK and Bushido owner Donato Simonaitis.
Yes.
Come to Japan for participating in a project called Seiza.
Oh.
Yes, it's a new martial art project here in Japan. They do a new kind of style of martial arts in Tokyo. They already have Ganjojima show for the guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we do fights with a gi in sumo arena.
Cool.
For the guys, and for the guys, the rules are a little bit different than they mostly is a striking style, and they don't have submissions on the ground, but have ground and pound.
Oh,
awesome!
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that that Ryzen is probably the biggest promotion out there in Japan. Is there like a maybe a potential of you fighting for that promotion in the future?
For Ryzen, yeah, well, probably. Like my manager is working pretty close with Ryzen, so I think maybe in the future.
Awesome.
And so you've been living in Japan. So are you going back and forth? Because I know you train out in London and out in there in the UK. Is it something that you go back and forth?
Actually, like I'm trying to travel as much as possible, but being in Japan is probably the biggest stay in one place during the last years for me. I spent in Japan for 11 months, and later I got proposed to fight in Lithuania in a big show in KOK. They finally did the first event in my hometown where I'm training, and that actually was freaking amazing in the biggest arena in Baltic countries, and it was like a dream come true.
Awesome.
So I asked my manager, my management says that to let me go for that fight. So on my way to Lithuania, I got tickets for London because I'm trying to come in London as much as possible because one of my the main branch of my jiu-jitsu academy in London. Because we under Roger Gracie, and the main academy is in London, so we always try to get here as much as possible.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, one of our bucket lists for Josh and I is to actually go visit Tokyo or to go to Japan. Talk about Japan. How is it living out there, and have you adapted to the culture? I know it's very different from anywhere else.
For me, it's different because I'm working for Seiza, So they actually gave me everything. So one part of the deal was that I'm coming here and I'm training after them. So actually, the main thing of the project that is the Ganjo Gym that I already told, it's girls branch. So the girls branch is called Seiza, and the main idea, like, we are living together and training together, and after that fight together as a team. So we are 4 here. I'm Lithuanian. Also, we have Brazilian girl and 2 from Nepal.
Oh, awesome.
And they usually sometimes used to get some Japanese girl from put in our team, and just all the time gave us a new team from. The first event was against Greece team, and after that it was Japanese teams. Yeah, so we are just training together, living together, and do everything together. But we can train outside also. So,
interesting.
And you're obviously people know you as the first professional women's mixed martial arts out of Lithuania. How does that feel to represent your home country and in the big stage of world of mixed martial arts across the world?
Like, it's hard. I'll be honest, because actually, like, when you are the first, there is it was hard to get the promotions to take me for the fights. It was hard to get for me fights. I grabbed some crazy fights in the beginning of my career. And so on, but now step by step we are moving forward. I finally got good people behind me, and we are moving forward, and I hope that girls are coming. Actually, I already see some young girls in Lithuania who are going by my steps, so I think it will be more and more of us in the future.
Well, your last fight was last month, I believe, and you won via, I think, armbar. A very impressive win for you. But before then, that like it took a long time in between fights. Do you want to fight more consistent now that you're back on the track?
Yeah, my biggest problem, I think, in MMA was that I could not get a lot of fights. It's actually, to look my record, there is 1 year difference between every my fight.
Yeah.
It's just because I could not get any fights, not because I was not training or was injured. No, I just could not get any fights. Yeah. Girls told me no, or some else like that. I also didn't have amateur experience. So actually, coming to Japan, the reason to come to Japan was to get that experience. And during that year here, I fought not in MMA but in another. Like by Seiza rules are kind of close to MMA, and it's actually kind of looks like amateur MMA, because we have still ground game, we have submission 30 seconds for the girls, and we have ground and pound in the body. So it's actually for me, Seiza fights, it's like getting my experience for my MMA. And I also fought here in Japan. In such a new style for me called Letway. Letway is actually martial art from Myanmar, from Burma. And it's Burmese boxing. It's kind of close to Muay Thai, but they do fights like Muay Thai, but no gloves. With headbutts, and you cannot win by points, only by 2 knockouts. So you knock out your opponent, they let opponent to get back on track for 2 minutes, and he should fight again. And if you don't knock out him for a second time, you get a draw.
What? That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow.
So you only can get 2 knockouts and win the fight, or you will get a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I already fought 1 fight like that. I won it against Burmese girl, and now I'm waiting for the title shot here in Tokyo in that style next month.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So you dabble in a lot of martial arts in general, and you train martial arts since you were young. What got you into just martial arts in general, and even mixed martial arts, and now all these other various martial arts? What kind of drove you to martial arts in general?
You mean how I started? Or
Yeah.
Oh, Aside from karate, like, I'm from a small town in Lithuania. It's only like 30,000 people, and we had a really good karate club. And my dad brought me here when I was 12, and it was my beginning. And actually, it was universal karate, so I used to fight in different styles of karate since I was young.
Yeah.
And later, when I moved from my university to a bigger town, to Kaunas, I found my jiu-jitsu coach, Donatas Luktveris, and also my team, Fighter House. And I thought that I will learn from Donatas only jiu-jitsu, but he is actually has really big experience in Muay Thai. And he slowly started like just change my striking. I was like, why jiu-jitsu coach changing my striking? But he had a Muay Thai experience. So he changed totally all my striking, included my jiu-jitsu, and made me MMA fighter.
Awesome. Nice. And do you have any hobbies outside of fighting that you enjoy to do? Like maybe
no,
just fighting.
No, this is my life actually.
Oh wow.
I was studying for a long time, and I always called martial arts my hobby, but it became my job. It became my life.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, so I just made my hobby my job. That's all.
That's kind of cool.
And do you in terms of like when you've been living out in Tokyo, but do you cook out there for yourself? Do you cook like Lithuanian food, or have you adapted to more of the Japanese diet while you're out there?
When I came just here, I used to cook in the beginning, but later I got that here is like pretty easy to get food outside, and I'm like, why I should cook if I can get it? I don't want to spend my time for that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm training pretty much, so it's like no time.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes.
And have you learned the language a little bit, or are you completely lost?
So hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard, right? That's so funny.
And
no, it's impossible for me sounds.
So with KOK, when's your next fight, and what kind of contract do you have with them? Do you have a contract in terms of like when they plan on how many fights they're giving you, and when you plan on fighting next?
We have with Bushido Federation, we don't have like contract, but I'm working with a manager who is the owner of Bushido Federation.
Yeah.
So actually, I do everything with him, with Donatas Unitas, and for sure I will get more fights here. I'm actually already decided to leave Japan after my left way fight, so I will get the last Seiza fight at 24th of October, so this month. In 1.5 weeks, it will be my last fight for Seiza. Next month, I fight Latvia in Tokyo, and I'm coming back home.
Nice.
Awesome.
Finally. Yeah, so I think probably next year I will fight again MMA. At least I will ask for MMA fight as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And what are some of your goals in mixed martial arts? Like, do you want to fight a lot, or do you want to, obviously
you go to
like another promotion,
US
maybe?
Promotion.
Like, talk about some of your goals you have as a fighter.
First of all, I want to see how far away I can get.
Yeah.
That's the main thing for me. And of course, I have the same goals as everybody. It's UFC and so on.
Oh, nice.
Well, we look forward to your next fight. Hopefully we get to see you soon. And thank you for being on the show. Do you want to maybe give an idea of how the fans can follow you on social media? Maybe shout out to some sponsors, or even some of the stuff that you're doing now, where MMA fans, fight fans can find it.
Yeah, sure. First of all, my Instagram, Julija.Stoliarenko. I'm open for any sponsorship because, I have never had them. My biggest sponsor is my mom and dad.
Yeah. Well, thanks, mom and dad, for
thanks, mom and dad. Yeah, we actually was laughing with my sister that I should go with a T-shirt where it's usually sponsorship, mom, dad, sister.
Or a picture of your mom and your dad. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Some stuff like that. Yeah, and of course, Seiza promotion. You can get any information about Seiza on the webpage www.say-midline.com. And that's all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time, and we look forward to your progression in mixed martial arts. You're someone that can make it far in the sport. You have the fighting ability. You obviously you're very pretty and very marketable. So
best of luck. Go a long way.
Yeah,
yeah.
So best of luck in that. And if you're in LA, let us know and we'll come. We'll treat you to dinner or something.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Show you around.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you for having me.
All right, and that was Julija Stoliarenko, KOK fighter out in Japan right now. She's training, taking part in a lot of stuff, a lot of different martial arts. She was mentioning a lot of stuff that she's involved in. So make sure you go to that website that she mentioned and catch all of that. Awesome person, huh? Great guy.
She's very nice. It's crazy that you had to go through all that stuff just to get a win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking at the record now. I can see how she can get those 2 draws.
Yeah, because if you look at that draw, it's tough to get even that draw. It's like you have to go through a lot to even. That's basically a win in her.
Yeah, it's crazy that those fights, because those fights would never be sanctioned here in the U.S.
No, yeah,
no way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Tough chick, man.
Yeah,
awesome, and you're gonna probably see a lot of her in the future.
Yeah.
Now fight picks. There's not a whole lot going on. You have LFA 24 going on this weekend. You have Cage Warriors 87. You have the Grand Prix opening for Ryzen. We talked about with her. So, awesome. Awesome weekend of fights. Make sure you guys catch that. But aside from that, I mean, what did we mention? We mentioned Emmanuel Sanchez and Bellator last weekend. Great night of fights there. Props to him for winning. Bellator,
6 submission.
Bellator is putting on some great events, and we look forward to all that in the near future. But until then, make sure you guys go to themmacomplex.com. Get everything in MMA Complex, past episodes and everything, merchandise, you name it.
Yeah. And you can also, if you guys are listening on iTunes, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and then give us a review. Those of you guys who are watching, you can always watch the show on YouTube, YouTube/The MMA Complex. Subscribe there and share. And you can follow us on social media. You can follow us. You can follow me on Twitter, MMA Complex James. You can follow him, MMA Complex Josh. You can follow us, the show, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Not a lot of fights going on, kind of quiet, but there's some stuff some content to watch.
Glory also.
Oh, Glory, yeah, that's right.
Rico Verhoeven, Antonio
versus,
Bigfoot Silva.
yeah.
Make sure you guys catch that UFC Fight Pass.
Kind of weird fight, but still kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
So, catch that. And next week we recap all that we can. But until then, enjoy the week and enjoy the fights.